Before we crack open tonight's cursed can of content, I just want to say a big thank you to all our subscribers, and an extra sinister shout out to the loyal members of the Sinister Elite. You legends help keep the darkness alive. If you're enjoying the stories and want to take it a step further, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and consider joining the Sinister Elite by clicking that join button below. Members get access to creepy custom emojis and exclusive Sinister Elite badges that level up the longer you survive with us. It's like loyalty, but spookier. All right, lights off, headphones in, and let's summon something we'll all regret. I work nights at a machine shop, just me and two other guys babysitting CNC lathes until 3 a.m. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, it's just coolant mist, busted inserts, and praying the bar feeder doesn't jam because none of us feel like dragging our boots across 60 yards of dark shop floor to fix it. The lights are motion sensors, right? They shut off after about 20 minutes if you don't move. Which is hilarious, because if you're running a 35-minute cycle, you basically get punished for doing your job too well. There you are, sitting on a folding chair, sipping gas station coffee out of a chipped Yeti knockoff, while the entire shop plunges into silent, suffocating darkness. Feels less like manufacturing precision parts and more like surviving the world's slowest horror movie. We work in this big, ancient building, an old foundry that got repurposed back when dinosaurs still walked the earth. The old office section is still there in the corner, cracked windows, stains on the ceiling tiles, doors that don't shut all the way. Perfect place to sneak off for what we affectionately call a strategic meditation break. Translation: Nap City. Officially, it's forbidden. Like, you will lose your job forbidden. But unofficially, everyone knows if you can wedge yourself behind a filing cabinet with a hoodie over your head, and your supervisor isn't around to catch you. It's basically fair game. The old office is cold, smells like rust and mouse pee, and creaks like it's auditioning for a haunted house. But man, it's peaceful once you're out cold. I used to tell the guys the noises were just unionized rats staging protests in the walls. Lately, though, I don't know. The knocking and scratching started sounding different. Less rat and more like someone trying to get out. But hey, shop coffee has enough caffeine to give a corpse anxiety, so maybe I was just jumpy. Anyway, last Thursday night, around 1 a.m., I decided to take my break. Lights were already off, machines humming quietly in the distance. I crept into the old office, flopped onto the busted faux leather couch, and tucked my jacket under my head. That's when I saw it. An old clipboard, wedged between the couch and the wall. Beat up. Warped from moisture. Taped to it was a crumpled sheet of yellowed paper, written in shaky black ink. Rules for night shift. If you hear knocking in the walls, knock back once. Only once. Then leave immediately. Never fall asleep if the lights are off. They know when you're vulnerable. If a machine powers on by itself, do not look at it. Turn your back and leave the area. If you see yourself walking across the shop floor, hide. That is not you. At 2:17 a.m., the office clock will chime once. Do not be in the office when it does. I laughed. Had to be a prank. Probably some old-timer screwing with the newbies back in the day. I showed it to Danny and Kyle when I went back out to the machines, waving it like a lunatic. Look at this, I said. Straight out of Paranormal Activity 6 CNC edition. Danny was wiping off a boring bar, barely looked up. Kyle, hunched over his cell phone watching YouTube, just said, "Bro, that office is legit cursed. You ever notice the walls sweat even when it's cold?" We joked about it for a while. Danny said the rats were probably unionizing with the coolant mist ghosts. Kyle suggested we add a 6th rule. If you fart loud enough to wake yourself up, you owe everybody Red Bull. We laughed it off, until I went back for my jacket before clocking out, and the old office was pitch black. I stepped inside, fumbling with my flashlight when I heard it. Knock. 3 slow knocks. Inside the wall, right behind me. I froze like an idiot, standing there in the stale darkness, flashlight hanging useless in my hand. Those knocks weren't random rat scratchings. They were slow, deliberate, like knuckles tapping wood just a few feet behind me. 1, 2, 3. I swallowed hard. For a second, my brain tried to logic its way out. Maybe the building was settling. Maybe some pipes shifted. Then I remembered the first rule taped to that clipboard. If you hear knocking in the walls, knock back once. Only once. Then leave immediately. I let out a nervous laugh. This is so stupid, I mumbled. Still, my hand moved before my brain could catch up. Knock. One soft tap against the wall with my knuckles. I stood there, heart jackhammering, expecting the wall to explode with rats or a pipe to burst, or maybe for Kyle to jump out yelling, "Gotcha!" with his stupid vape cloud. Nothing. The silence was so heavy it felt like it was pressing against my chest. The only sounds were the distant hum of the CNC machines and the faint ticking of the broken office clock, the one that was stuck at 2:10 a.m. I turned to leave, deciding that was enough paranormal nonsense for one night. As I stepped through the doorway, out of the old office and back into the shop's main floor, the overhead lights clicked back on. Motion sensors. Guess I moved enough to trip them. The fluorescent lights buzzed, cold and harsh, lighting up the rows of machines in the wide open space. For a second, everything felt normal again. Boring, quiet, and a little greasy, just the way we liked it. I even chuckled to myself. Probably just some old water pipes popping. That's when I saw it. At the far end of the shop floor near machine number 12, a lathe spun up, all by itself. Whining, clamping, spinning. The monitor wasn't flashing any program numbers. No operator panel lit up. It was just running like an invisible ghost machinist hit cycle start. I felt the blood drain from my face. Rule number 3. If a machine powers on by itself, do not look at it. Turn your back and leave the area. I instinctively stared straight at it like a moron. And that's when I realized it wasn't just the lathe running. The coolant line was spraying onto the floor, but the puddle it made wasn't spreading. It was moving, like it had a mind of its own. The pool of coolant slithered across the floor toward me in little twitchy jerks, like a centipede made out of oil and water. I turned so fast I almost tore my rotator cuff. Head down, heart racing, I fast walked back to my machine. Danny and Kyle were both there, leaning on the tailstock like two raccoons loitering behind a 7-Eleven. "You look like you just saw a ghost," Danny said, laughing. I was about to tell them about the lathe, the knocking, the clipboard, everything, when I caught something out of the corner of my eye. A guy, walking across the shop floor, wearing the exact same hoodie and work boots I was. At first, I thought it was my reflection in the polished steel of a machine. But the angle was wrong, and I was very much standing still. The figure kept walking, slow, steady, not even glancing our way. Rule number 4. If you see yourself walking across the shop floor, hide. That is not you. I didn't think. I dove behind the nearest machine, pulling Danny down with me. Kyle, confused, just stood there blinking like a baby goat on ice. "What the hell, man?" Danny hissed. "Shut up," I whispered, dragging him lower. From behind the safety of the big CNC mill, I peeked. The doppelganger walked right past Kyle, who was standing frozen in place. Didn't touch him, didn't even look at him. But as it passed, every machine it walked by flickered, lights dimming, monitors glitching like old VHS tapes. The smell of hot electrical plastic filled the air, sharp and wrong. Then it disappeared into the shadows near the back maintenance doors, leaving a trail of dead machines behind it. The lights buzzed back to life a moment later. Everything resumed like nothing happened. Kyle finally snapped out of it. "Dude," he said, walking over to us, pale as drywall. "Was that you?" I shook my head, throat dry. "Nope." Danny swore under his breath and sat back against the side of the machine. "This is why I don't work overtime," he muttered. I almost laughed. Almost. We decided, without speaking, to stick together for the rest of the shift. If the supervisors were watching on the cameras, we probably looked ridiculous. 3 grown men moving around like a herd of terrified toddlers. Every little noise made us jump. The whir of a spindle motor winding down, the slap of a coolant drip hitting the concrete, even the low murmur of the office clock, ticking away the minutes we had left before 2:17 a.m., because there was one rule left, and the office clock was stuck at 2:10. You ever get that feeling when you're a kid right before you know you're about to get your ass handed to you? That's what it felt like, standing there at 2:15 a.m. in a dark machine shop, staring at the clock in the old office. We knew we had 2 minutes. 2 lousy minutes. Danny wanted to just leave. Walk right out the side door, punch out early, take the no-show point on the time card like a champ. Kyle, bless his idiot heart, thought we should go reset the breaker, because maybe the lights flickering had messed with the clock. Bro, I said, holding up the clipboard like it was the 10 Commandments. The rules don't say fix it. They say don't be in the office. But what if... Kyle started. Nope. I cut him off, grabbing the back of his hoodie and yanking him toward the machines. We are staying right here, behind good old Mazak number 22, with all its sharp corners and bad attitudes. Danny checked his phone. 2:16 a.m. 1 minute, he muttered. The lights flickered again. Not like before. This time they didn't come back on. The shop plunged into total darkness. Pitch black, except for the dim green LED readouts on a few active machines. Then, somewhere deep in the old office, dong. One heavy, hollow chime. Not a beep, not a buzz. A freaking medieval doom bell. We all flinched. In the faint glow of the machine lights, I saw something. Inside the glass window of the old office, the one facing the shop, a shape. Tall, skinny, bent wrong, like it had too many joints in the wrong places. It pressed up against the glass, hands smearing long, greasy fingerprints across it. Its head tilted sideways in that creepy, "Are you food?" kind of way. None of us breathed. None of us moved. Rule number 5. Do not be inside the office when the clock strikes 2:17 a.m. Good news? We weren't inside. Bad news. The thing inside definitely noticed us outside. The office door, the one we always propped open with a broken folding chair, slammed shut on its own, locked itself with a click so loud it echoed across the whole shop. Kyle whimpered. Danny said something very colorful about his pants. I couldn't blame him. If I wasn't clenched up tighter than a vice jaw, I probably would have made a puddle too. The thing in the office just stood there, watching. Its hand slowly lifted, one bony finger tapping against the inside of the glass. Tap, tap, tap. Danny tugged on my sleeve. Man, he whispered. What do we do? I didn't know. The clipboard didn't say what to do after 2:17. Just said don't be inside. Well, mission accomplished. 5 gold stars for us. I pulled them both down behind the mill again, heart slamming against my ribs. After about a minute, Kyle peeked over the top, then turned back to us, wide-eyed. It's gone. We didn't wait to celebrate. We speed-walked, ran, across the shop to the break room like a bunch of terrified roaches scattering when the lights come on. Inside the break room, with the vending machines humming and the microwave blinking 0000, it felt normal, safe. Almost like the last 30 minutes hadn't happened. We caught our breath, laughing nervously, swearing we were quitting tomorrow, making jokes about adding a 6th rule. If you see something tall, bent, and greasy, recommend it for a supervisor position. For a moment, the mood lightened. We were 3 over-caffeinated machinists, ragged but alive, until we realized something. The vending machine. The big snack machine that ate your dollars and never gave you your Doritos. It was on. The screen was flashing. Hello. Username. Except there was no username, just a blinking cursor. And then the screen changed. New rule. Never acknowledge the 6th rule. The three of us stared at the vending machine like it had just dropped an anvil on the break room table. "New rule?" Danny said, voice cracking like a 12-year-old. He pointed at the screen like we hadn't all read it. Never acknowledge the 6th rule. And the cursor just kept blinking. 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 Kyle, because he's Kyle, naturally reached for the vending machine keypad. "Maybe if I hit A1 it'll spit out a clue or a Snickers," he said, half laughing. I slapped his hand away like a furious grandma swatting a kid off the cookie tray. "You touch that thing, and I swear on everything holy, I will throw you into the coolant tank." Danny paced a tight little circle, muttering to himself. "This is bad. This is bad. This is real bad." I didn't disagree. Machines don't just write rules on vending machines. At least not unless you're trying to create the worst OSHA violation in history. I pulled out the clipboard again, the original set of rules still taped to it, and flipped it over. Nothing on the back, no fine print, no warranty guarantee. We were flying blind. Kyle started giggling. Real, honest-to-God, nervous giggling. "You know what this is, man," he said. "We're in one of those Netflix ghost shows, where 3 idiots get haunted because they didn't respect the local ghost union." He wasn't wrong. The air in the break room grew colder. Not, "Oh, the AC kicked on." Cold. But that heavy wet. Something is breathing on the back of your neck kind of cold. Then came the knocking. Not from the office this time. From the lockers lining the far wall. Bang, bang, bang. Metal doors rattling on their hinges. One by one, the locker doors popped open. Slowly. Creak. Empty. 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 Until the last one. From across the break room, I could see it. Inside locker number 13. Of course it's number 13 because why not? There was something jammed in the corner. Something folded. Something moving. Danny grabbed my arm. "We're not looking, right? Right? Tell me we're not looking." Kyle, because Kyle never learns anything ever, started walking toward it. "It's just a prank," he said. "Some janitor probably left a coat in there or something. I don't know about you, but I've never seen a coat breathe." The folded thing shifted again, jerkier this time. And I swear I heard it giggle. That was enough for me. Nope. No, sir. Not today, Satan. I grabbed Kyle by the back of his hoodie and hauled him backward like a cartoon cat yanking its kitten out of danger. "New plan," I said. "We stay together. We stay moving. We stay the hell away from lockers, vending machines, and spontaneous HR violations." Danny nodded so hard his safety glasses almost flew off. We agreed, unspoken but unanimous, to get the hell out of the break room. As we stepped back into the main shop floor, we immediately regretted it. The entire shop was different. Machines we hadn't touched were now turned 90 degrees. Pathways that used to be clear were now blocked by pallets and toolboxes. The emergency exit doors were gone, replaced by blank, unbroken walls. It was like the building had rearranged itself while we were hiding. Kyle spun around, panicking. "Where the hell's the dock door? Where's the big red exit sign?" Gone. Just smooth concrete and humming machines, and down the main aisle, where the open bay used to be, was the old office door. Still locked, still humming, still waiting. And taped to it, right at eye level, was a fresh sheet of paper. Even from here, I could see it. Written in the same shaky handwriting. It said, "Rule number 7, only one leaves." We stared at that fresh sheet of paper like it was a live grenade taped to the office door. "Rule number 7, only one leaves." Danny read it out loud in a cracked voice. Kyle immediately started pacing tight little circles again, mumbling things like, "Bro, I'm too young to die in a frickin' shop accident." And, "This is exactly how Final Destination started, man." Me? I just stood there, brain completely blank, like an old CNC controller with a fried motherboard. Only one leaves. The rules had been leading us here the whole time. First the knocking, then the machine starting up by itself. Then the doppelganger, the clock chiming, the vending machine. This wasn't just a haunted building. This was something bigger, something that feeds on people who screw up the rules. Danny finally broke the silence. Maybe it's a metaphor, he said hopefully. Like, only one version of yourself leaves. Better, wiser, more OSHA compliant. Kyle snorted. Yeah, and maybe if we wish real hard, the ghost will give us all free tool vouchers too. I looked around the shop. The machines were closer now. I swear they were physically inching toward us when we weren't looking, hemming us in like giant metal cattle herders. The lights flickered again, and then we heard it. Footsteps, not boots on concrete. Something heavier, something wet. Squelch, squelch, squelch. Coming from the back of the shop, moving straight toward us. Danny backed up against a lathe, knocking over a box of old aluminum stock with a loud crash. Kyle nearly tripped over his own boots. The thing rounded the corner. I wish I could tell you it looked like a person. I wish I could tell you it looked like anything human. It was tall, bent, greasy, like before. But now its face was clear. It looked like all three of us, mashed together into one meat puppet. 3 faces, smeared and overlapping like wet clay. It reached out one long, shuddering arm and pointed. Right. Address me. Danny screamed. Kyle bolted like a squirrel on crack. I stood frozen, heart hammering so hard I could taste copper. The clipboard slipped from my hand and hit the ground with a sharp crack, and the rules spilled out. All the old ones, the new ones, everything. One sheet of paper fluttered to a stop right by my boot. It was different. Typed in bold red letters. Break the cycle. Make a new rule. Break the cycle. Make a new rule. My mind raced. All night we'd been following the rules, obeying, reacting. What if that was the trap? What if following the rules was the point? I bent down, grabbed a pen off the floor, and scrawled a brand new rule right on the back of the clipboard. Rule number 8. Everyone leaves. I stood up, held the clipboard over my head like it was a damn holy relic, and shouted, "New rule!" Everyone leaves. The thing stopped mid-squelch, trembled, its faces twisted in what I could only describe as confusion. Then, without warning, the machines around us started powering down. One by one, lights flickering off, coolant pumps shutting down, spindles grinding to a halt. The air felt lighter, the oily fog lifted, and the emergency exit doors, the real ones, were back, glowing red like a beacon. Danny and Kyle didn't wait for a second invitation. They sprinted for the door like their paychecks were taped to it. I ran after them, clipboard still clutched in my hand. We burst into the cool night air, gasping, laughing, crying all at the same time. The shop behind us groaned, a deep shuddering sound, and then fell silent. The lights inside never came back on. We sat on the curb for a long time, not saying much, just breathing. Alive. Finally, Kyle broke the silence. "So," he said, "are we, fired?" Danny laughed, rubbing his hands over his face. "I don't know, man, but I'm not going back in there to find out." I looked down at the clipboard in my lap. The new rule, my rule, was still there. Everyone leaves. Maybe next time the shop tries to play its sick little game, it'll remember. Machinists don't quit that easy. Especially not the night crew.